Habit number 4 is you rely on one income. You've probably heard people on the internet talking about how millionaires have 7 streams of income, but that's not what I'm talking about today, because that is kind of misleading. Millionaires don't become millionaires because they've created 7 streams of income. They become millionaires because they built one stream of income and then diversified after they became a millionaire. But when I talk about now relying on one stream of income, what I mean by that now is as a financially educated person. If you're relying on your career, if you're relying on your job and you have nothing else, you're one paycheck away from being broke. And what I mean by that is if you look at any person who works to earn money. I don't care if you're working at a factory. I don't care if you're a doctor making $300,000 a year. I don't care if you're an NBA player making $3 million a year. I don't care if you're an executive making $30 million a year. If you stop working, the paychecks stop coming in. If you're a doctor, you're making a lot of money and you stop doing surgeries, you stop getting paid. But you still got expenses. Even if you paid off your home and all of your other expenses, you still got to pay property taxes. You're still going to have to eat next month. You're still going to need more clothes next month. You're still going to want to go on a vacation. You're still going to have expenses, but no more money coming in. And this is where we go back to how do you build wealth? What does wealth even mean? And wealth, for me, means I want to own assets. More particularly for me, I want to own assets that pay me with cash flow because I want to get paid without having to sell my investments. What does that mean? That can mean dividend-paying stocks, dividend-paying funds, rental properties. I want to own things that are going to pay me every month or every quarter or every year. I just keep getting checks just for owning this investment and I don't have to sell my investments to get paid. That's what wealth looks like for me. But my focus is to grow the income that way I can buy more of these investments. And unfortunately, what a lot of people are doing is they're working to grow their income so they can have a bigger home, have a nicer car, have another vacation, and have other nice and fancy things. But what you're doing is just relying on that one income. You're relying on your sole income to build wealth. But what happens if something happens to you? What happens if something happens to your company? What happens if you can no longer earn that income? Then what? You have nothing to fall back on, but you still got expenses to pay. And this is where I want you to start thinking a little bit bigger and think about what does wealth look like for you. That way you can work to own and acquire those assets. That way you can keep getting paid even if you're not going to work. Habit number 5 is you live beyond your means. I'm a little extreme when it comes to this because there's a lot of different levels to being able to purchase or afford something. If you have $1,000 in the bank, you can technically purchase a $5,000 sofa. But I think a lot of people would agree that you might not be able to afford it. Because if you're going into debt to buy that sofa, which a lot of people do, well, you can buy it, but you can't afford it. Then people will tell you, well, if you have $5,000 in the bank and you want to buy a $5,000 sofa, now most people will tell you that you can afford that sofa because you have $5,000 and you want to buy a $5,000 sofa. You don't got to worry about financing. You're buying it with cash so you can afford it. I would disagree. For me, when it comes to things that I don't need to survive, if I can't buy 5 of them, I can't afford one of them. If I can't buy 5 of those $5,000 sofas, if I don't got 25 grand, I can't afford that sofa. That's where now you got to understand, are you living within your means or are you living at your means or are you living beyond your means? The reason why you got to live below your means is so you always have some extra money to build your savings, to build your investments, to build your wealth. That sofa's not going to make you rich. Your car's not going to make you rich, but those investments will. So what do you want to prioritize? The average person wants to prioritize the way they look. I want you to prioritize the wealth that you have. Habit number 6 is you don't learn from your mistakes. I have screwed up more times than I can count. And unfortunately, I have made the same mistake multiple times when it comes to investing money, when it comes in my business. But eventually, I do learn. But there are, unfortunately, some people that don't. And what I mean by that is you probably know somebody, I know people like this, who fall or really get attracted to, let's call it, those get-rich-quick programs. It might be a system, it might be a scheme, it might be a meme stock, it might be a cryptocurrency, it might be a course. This thing that's going to promise you these huge returns in a very short period of time. Now, I can sit here and tell you that if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. But most people have to get burned a couple of times to really understand what that means, because unfortunately, there's a lot of crap out there, especially on the internet. But there are some people that just don't learn. That every time you see one of these new hype things, whether it's a stock, a cryptocurrency, a program, a system, you just keep buying it and you just keep dumping your money into these things that you're hoping will make you rich very quickly, but instead you're just losing your opportunity to ever build wealth because this is money that you could have been using to build your wealth. This is money you could have been using to build a long-term future, but instead you just keep dumping it into all these dumb ideas again and again and again and again and again. If you want to do it a couple of times, fine. You got to learn your lesson somehow, right? But eventually, you got to stop making that same mistake and take that money now and stop falling for the same schemes, the same scams, the same piece of crap, and take the money and invest it into the right things that will build you that long-term wealth, because real wealth is built slowly. It doesn't happen like that. And habit number 7 that keeps so many people stuck in the middle class is you focus on your emotions, not the financials. The first way that you see this is you see people get stuck in this victim mindset for themselves. Then I am stuck in this situation because the government is screwing me over. The president is the reason why I'm broke. Wall Street is what's keeping me in debt. The banks are what's keeping me poor. And you keep blaming and blaming and blaming. You blame every single person except yourself, and they are the reason why you're never going to get rich. They are the reason why you're never going to build wealth. And when you do that, yeah, you're right. I mean, you're never going to have an opportunity to build wealth because you keep blaming them instead of actually doing something about it. Because I'm going to tell you something that might hurt, but the reality is, if you are in a first world country like the United States of America, if you understand what I'm saying because you can speak English and you have the technology to actually watch this video, you have all the tools that you need to build wealth. Now what you got to do is build a mindset to build wealth and stop blaming everybody else, because you have more tools, more opportunities than anybody else in the world. Now you just got to do something about it. And the second part to this emotional habit is also the way that you use your money. Now I kind of talked about just throwing the money into the next hot thing, but you see it all the time, whether the markets are up or down, as you start to make emotional investment decisions, even with good investments. As markets start to go up, you think, oh my God, markets are never going to come down. The economy is booming and I want to take advantage of this. So you just start buying and buying and buying, chasing stocks, chasing investments on the way up. And then when they start to go down, you panic, you get scared, and you sell. But the reality is, the best investors, the most successful financially people, are people that can cut through the noise, they can cut through the emotions, and they use it as an opportunity. Because the reality is, recessions build more wealth than really any other period, because they create an opportunity for you to come in and buy investments for literally pennies on the dollar sometimes. But in order for you to actually see these investments and capitalize on these investments, you have to be able to cut through the noise and cut through the emotion. That way you can find the right opportunity for you. If you enjoyed this clip and you want to continue your financial education journey, I have another video that I think you'll love. All you got to do is click that button right over there. And for those of you who want to stay up to date on the top finance and business news, you can join Market Briefs, my free financial newsletter, by clicking that button below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.